Welcome to the Flat Track Factory on field trip to friend of the channel, Dale Quarterley. Dale, thanks for having us again.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we love being here. You're probably the most popular thing on my channel, really.
A bunch of strange people out there then.
Yeah. So I just got the motor back from Jerry in a brand new spec, trick parts, all kinds of fun stuff. Did kind of a quick install video and a dyno explanation where we talked about what it did comparison to last year. And we talked about we're hoping for some increases.
Right.
So we talked about people. Told people about the the increases, how much more we made.
And both dyno runs were at the same place, right? So we got
same place,
numbers
yes.
to go by.
Same bike, same tire, same wheel.
Yep.
Obviously the atmospheric conditions are
Right.
slightly different, but that's supposedly
Right.
corrected for. So I thought it would be fun to tell people, what the difference was. In the middle we made 5.5 more. At the peak we made 2 more, etc. That wasn't good enough. They didn't like that. So I think what I'm going to do is run one more experiment with a different wheel and tire on a different fuel. And if that is enough of a difference to prove my point, maybe I will tell you the number. But I really don't think that's too interesting.
The problem with the number is every dyno is different. I don't care what they say. And I don't care whose dyno it is. Every dyno is different. And if I go down the street, one of the smartest guys in the country, Kobe Adams, and dyno something down there, and then I take it over to Charlotte, dyno the same guy, same bike, same thing, same day, same tire, same pressure, same everything, like within an hour of one another's. When I go down south, I'll be, even on a 50-horse motorcycle, I'll be 2 or 3 horse better down south than I am up here. So it's, dyno numbers are, to me, are a baseline number. It's something you write down on a piece of paper to know when you work on it, when you go back next year, it should be more.
People want to know. They think they're owed it, whatever.
Tom makes 100 then.
Yeah, or 50. But it doesn't matter what you tell them. You're going to get 2 things. Somebody's going to say, that's ridiculous. It could never make that much. Or, right below it, they'll say, oh, my dad's uncle's brother's stepson's friend made twice that.
Right.
So it's just kind of, maybe I'm thin-skinned, but I'm sick of it.
Right. But, I think your videos, and I've said this before, I think your videos online with you guys have been well received. They're well rounded. They're a lot of jokes, a lot of good basic information. And if you watch the video taking it as a grain of salt, we're trying to give you a 2-minute synopsis of a 20-year history lesson in 2 minutes, that if you just listen to what basically you're trying to explain, everything is great. If you want to nitpick us to death, then that's easy.
Yeah,
right? Anybody can do that.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just kind of ignore it. So the other question is, they want to know how much it costs. And there's
does it matter?
Well, I mean, it kind of grates me a little bit, I guess, that people want to know that. It's kind of like, why do you want to know? I mean, it's more than a Disney cruise vacation. It's less than a bass boat, But it's
So,
is there a cheaper form of racing than flat track motorcycle racing?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, but you guys can't see it. Maybe he'll show it. But sitting right here is my 1982 GPZ 1100 that we built, because I raced one in the day with Brockton Cycle Center guys. Mm-hmm. So when we decided to go vintage racing, that's what we build, and we talk about it through different videos. We did the Motu video on it when I was adjusting the valves. Anyways, when we built it, the motor from Kerry Andrews was 10 grand. Mm. And I supplied, the cylinder head was already ported, and the training was already done. He just had to do the rest. And it was still 10 grand. But when we went to the racetrack, it was 15 for 15.
Yeah.
Right.
When you've done this recently, so if you were to go flat track racing, you and your son, and run at the front, which you guys can now do in the pro class, with a brand new dirt bike, how much would it cost to put that bike on top of the podium?
So first of all, you're going to go buy a brand new KTM 450. It says 12 grand, right? And then it's another $3,600 in wheels. It's $400 chain and sprockets. It's I think my suspension bill was $3,500, and I supplied forks and shock. He just fixed them to work properly. Was still $3,500.
How long is that bike going to be able to keep up with my Rotax?
It's not, even to begin with. It's not, but it'll get us as close as we're possibly going to be.
And then in 3 years, I'll still be racing my Rotax. Will you need a new KTM?
Oh, 1,000% we'll need a KTM because they'll come out with a new, better, more traction, handles better, power band better, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have to do it again.
So what you see me doing is keeping up with him. KTM is not populated by unmotivated morons.
Right.
They're working hard and give me goosebumps. I'm trying too. So I am not an engineer. I am not an engine builder. I don't want to be one, but I want to keep up with you guys. So I hire somebody.
But I don't think that sentence is true. I don't think he's trying to keep up with when he says us guys, he really means my son, Alex. I don't think you're trying to keep up with the local pros or the Northeast pros, Southeast pros. What I think you're trying to do is just what you tried to do in the day when you actually race, which is every time you hit the racetrack, you want to be a little bit better, if you can do it, than the last time you hit the racetrack. You're really racing yourself. You're just using us as a way to decide you accomplished it or you didn't accomplish it, and how well you ride and how well you don't ride.
Well, I need the young guys to get my juices.
Right. Now, I agree. As my son gets better as a rider, he comes up, and now he went from couldn't even follow you to now he's pressuring you. And then we built him out down the Kobe's, and all of a sudden now he beat you one weekend, right? He's able to beat you every once in a while. You still have us in the majority. We have the minority, but we can at least get to you now. But I'm going to go back to the beginning, and this is what you guys need to focus on. Everybody's objective is to be better than yesterday.
Or it should be.
No, not should be. It's to be. Everything you're doing is trying to be better than yesterday. Is stop worrying about today. And I've said it on our videos before, and I have a kid, Nathan, that we're helping right now, road race, and I yelled at Dad the other day because he was afraid to make an adjustment because we were going to go run a race. And I'm trying to convince him, he's 12, by the way. We're trying to win the Moto America race when he turns 14, which, do the math, is when?
2 years from now.
2 years from now. And I'm already yelling at Dad, like, I don't care about the race. None of these races count. They're freaking club races. We're trying to get this kid to win a pro race first week out. And the only way we're going to accomplish that, if we get him in the right mindset, that meaning he's treating it like a pro. He's treating it that every single time he does something, he's going to try and do it better, right? So again, you go back to your Rotax with you and the engine builder, Jerry. Every time you guys touch the motor, you're trying to do one more little thing, one more little thing, one more little thing. And every once in a while, which I think happened this last time, there wasn't a one little thing. It was, hey, if we want to do this, I don't know the number, but I'm going to spit out a number. It's going to cost us an extra $2,500. And you said, okay, because you haven't done anything in the last 4 years other than freshen it.
Exactly.
So you're taking that number and spacing it over 4 years.
Yeah. And I'll give you one solid number. I'm going to try to get Jerry on the phone. He's kind of doesn't want to talk too much.
He doesn't.
But I think I'm working on him to kind of go over some of it because it's not a secret. If you could talk him into it, he would do it for you. But that's another problem. But there is a billet cylinder on the motorcycle. It looks, if you just stood back and don't know what you're looking at, you wouldn't even be able to tell. But you look at it, the fins are handmade out of sheet aluminum. There's a gigantic piece of billet aluminum. I mean, it is a handmade cylinder, and that's $2,500.
Right.
Does it make more horsepower? No, but it makes more horsepower at the end of the race because it doesn't go out of round. So these are, that's just an example. And, development by somebody who is capable of developing an improvement.
Well, you're developing a 30-year-old engine that nobody makes parts for, right? That he's developing it. Well, that's my point. He's developing it on his own for himself. That there's two guys in the country that have one. You have one, and the guy out west has one.
Well, there's another guy up at Square Deal who has.
Okay, so there's three.
Yeah.
But again, so the reason I'm bringing this up is part of your issue is he's taken 40 or 50 or 60 hours worth of work and dividing by 3.
Mm-hmm.
That gets expensive. He's not building KTM parts that he's going to divide by 3,000 because that's how many he's going to build. He's dividing by 3, right?
Yeah, so the other reason is if I just spit out a number and say what I spend, it's not like that number. It's kind of an unobtainable thing because you're really developing a relationship with a man who has the experience to want to do it.
But he only wants to do it for certain people. I think you need to. I know you don't want to say it because you don't want to be that guy. I'm saying it. You are that guy. That you're one of 3 guys in the country that he's willing to do stuff for. And this is something everybody needs to pay attention to. I tried to teach my son this the first time he went car racing with me. If you walk over to the guy next to you and ask him for help because you're struggling, and you can't quite explain it, so you just try and get the guy to come over to your pitch stall so you can show him exactly what you're talking about. When he walks over or she walks over, when they walk over, if the thing looks like total ass, then they're going to give you half sentences answers and not really even answer you, and they're going to try and walk away because they don't want to be involved. If they look over the hood and see that it's nicely laid out and everything's run the way it's supposed to and it's clean, it doesn't have to be painted, it just has to be laid out properly, then they're going to spend some time and actually help. And I learned that lesson years and years ago, right? It has to be right. And that's another piece on your front. When Jerry does something, he knows when he hands it off to you that you're going to spend the time and go dyno it to make sure it's jetted properly, the timing's all set, everything's all set, so when you go on the racetrack, you don't just instantly burn it to the ground. He also knows that it's going to get put in a motorcycle that 9 million people want to own, right? And it's going to draw attention that he's not even looking for. Yeah. He just wants the attention to know that that motorcycle ran up front, right?
I think so.
And you're one of the few people that can do it. So you need to, I know you keep trying to push some of this away, but you need to absorb some of, you're one of the guys for a reason.
I don't know what to say.
Right, don't say anything, I'm just saying it. You're one of the guys for a reason. So move on.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I've been able to be involved in the sport and, despite the gruff attitude that I sometimes portray, I'm very lucky that I have people like Jerry. I have people like you. I have people like Mike Beeland. I have people like I shouldn't even say names because I'm going to leave people out that are willing to talk to me, and it's really a community effort. When I have a good night, it's not me. It's a whole group of people.
30 people got you there.
Yeah, right. I have a problem. I scroll through my phone and I start making calls. And it's a lifetime of relationships. You'll answer the phone, and I'll say it's not okay. So I'm doing this and doing that and doing this, and then he'll probably say you're riding like shit. And I'm like, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear. But
if that's what it is, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, so
what are you really doing?
So yeah, how much money you spend on an engine. That's it's interesting. I guess it's interesting, but it's not. It's just a piece of it. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is just some generalities, because you build engines professionally. Dale kind of does everything in racing. That's all he's ever done. Let's just talk about some base numbers. Somebody brings you a single cylinder engine, and just the labor to take it apart professionally with the right tools, not screwdrivers and pry bars, right, and put it back together professionally. Just that. Forget about modifications or replacement of parts. We're talking about time to do that right. How much does something like that cost?
So most engine shops get between $125 and $150 an hour.
That's it? That's cheap.
Right, that base rate. And then if they've got to clean it and soak it and do all that, it just keeps getting tacked on the bill, right? Mm-hmm. The issue is not so much the base rate, is the right guy. We don't, and please take this properly. I don't care what it costs. I care that when I bring it back to the racetrack, it did what it was supposed to do first time out. That when he says, I'll give you basically 4 more horse, and the thing's going to run a little better up top, and blah, 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 when I bring it back to the racetrack, that's exactly what it did. That's, to me, that's the issue. And the guys that are willing to do it properly are the guys that are going to charge you properly. That they're focused on one thing at a time. They're focused on your engine. When your engine is done, they'll work on the next engine. They're not doing 40 things at once. They're not selling parts. They're focused on building your engine, right? That's what you're paying for.
Okay, so we've got just the take it apart and put it back together. Then there's pieces that need to be replaced.
Well, and do you want to, are we talking about magnafluxing steel parts like the crank, the rod, transmission shafts to make sure there's no cracks in it, right? That's all extra. They need to get clean before it gets magged and clean again afterwards. So now you triple clean stuff, right? So you got to add that in. Or do you want to just take it apart and put it back together and hope it's okay?
All right, so
there's different levels of...
Then you got to buy some parts.
Right.
Then you want to make a step, so you got to do some development. And this is when the whole conversation goes crazy.
Well, it can be as simple as yours has electronic ignition on it, right? Mm-hmm. And in the electronic ignition, there's 10 spark curves you can run, different spark curves you can run for short track, intermediate track, long track, basically, is what they're laid out for, and a couple of versions each one. And depending on what fuel you put in it, what curve you put in it, and what exhaust you have on it, there's already 555 options, right? And now you're asking the engine builder, well, I don't like these. What's he gonna, he can't ask 555 questions, right? What are you running in the past? He's gonna say, well, from looking at it, looking at the top of the piston and looking at the head and looking at the valves, we don't have enough timing in it. There's too much carbon, blah, blah, blah. He kind of can tell just by looking at it what we're doing wrong on our end and how he can help us on his end.
So we've talked about a lot of places costs can go. Let's give them what they want. I'm seeing $4,000 minimum, and then we're just going to go as far as you want, right?
If you send, we'll stick with KTM just because we said it. If you send a KTM to one of the top guys, he ports the heads, put a cam in it, touches the valve seats, ports it, puts it all back together, it's $4,000.
Okay.
A KTM that they did 40 of the friggin' things.
Now let's go circle back and explain why you don't find your dad's ex-wife's stepson's buddy's friend and have him do it because he built a lawnmower that ran all summer.
Cousin's aunt's sister, because he won the lawnmower race. We went to the lawnmower races once. It was awesome. I tried to help one kid, and he looked at me like I was retarded. You can't do that. When we went back the next year, every single lawnmower on the grid was doing it. Unfortunately, that kid wasn't there, so I couldn't say I told you. When you go in your own house, right? Is a perfect example. You go in your own house and you're gonna go to the refrigerator, right? You pretty well have an idea that the milk is on the bottom shelf on the right, because that's basically where you guys put it. Mm-hmm. It might be in the center, but it's basically right there. So every brand has its problems. This one, the cranks go away. This one, it breaks the small end of the rod, wants to break off. This one, the cylinder cracks. This one has a tendency to drop valves. They all have their own nuances. That's the key. When you bring it to your brother, sister's, cousin's, aunt's, uncle, and he does it, he knows how to deck the cylinder head. I agree with that. But what he doesn't know is how to look at it and say, this thing's running way too rich, there's not enough timing in it. Because he doesn't know what he's looking at. He's a machinist. He can do the best surface there ever was. But that didn't help us. It's not the decking at 20 thousandths that helped us. It was giving it 2 degrees of timing that helped us, right? Because it's more compression. When you raise compression and it's more condensed, it fires off faster. So in essence, it's like increasing the timing 2 or 3 degrees. So if you deck the cylinder head and don't touch the timing, you automatically put 2 degrees of timing in it. So the timing is what helps it more than decking the cylinder head. It's just you got there a different way.
So there's
right?
very particular things that you need to know.
But he doesn't know that. So he decks the head. Now you got more compression. You're running a little lean. Now you got more compression and timing because they just go together. You go out on the racetrack. You go to dyno it, especially an old bike like a TT500. You'll burn the thing down in 3 practice sessions. All of a sudden it'll be smoking because the rings collapse because the cylinder temperature is so hot. Right? That's why you don't go to your brother sixless cunts aren't. They just can't help connect the pieces. They can do their piece better than anybody. Like the machinist can machine better than anybody. But he can't tell you what else is going on. And it'll burn you every single time.
So my argument I made a video before where I took a stack of poker chips. I said, okay, we're going to take our stack of poker chips. This is our budget, just whatever that number is, right? And what I do, I mean, I really don't spend the money maybe some think. I take my stack of poker chips and I take the big stack and I put it towards the professional to make sure that my engine can keep up.
Engine, carburetor, exhaust. Let's limit it. The stack is engine, carburetor, exhaust.
I pay a professional who does nothing but that, so that when I get to the track, there's no problems there.
And then this much stack left we're going to go racing on.
Yeah.
And the reason we can accomplish that is because it doesn't friggin' break. Yeah. You heard me, right?
Yep.
You guys heard me, right? Because it doesn't friggin' break. He's got the wildest motorcycle at the racetrack that is probably one of the fastest motorcycles in the country, and it still doesn't break. Because the stack is spent to make sure it stays alive. And because it stays alive, and he does proper maintenance, and runs Motul in it, and life is great, when we get to the end, we only need to spend this much money on racing. Because what do we buy? One front tire every 5 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
And we buy a rear tire every 2 weeks. We don't even do that half the time. Depending on what the track's doing, you just flip it, right? You might get 4 weeks out of a tire and put one on. But you don't have to put tires on every single weekend. Okay. So every 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Well, 2 weeks on a side, or 2 weeks on a tire?
2 weeks on a tire, 2 sides.
Okay. All right. So
torque has consequences.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They're still struggling. But the money is spent wisely, right? Now, if you had again, KTM, and you built it the first time or don't touch it, you go in that thing for 3 years and not touch it. But it was designed to do that. You're on a 30-year-old motorcycle. It wasn't designed to do any of this. It was designed to go on an ultralight and buzz around in the sky going the same RPM all day. Yeah. That's why it's got so much torque. It was designed for an ultralight. Do you know that?
That engine? I thought that was a purpose-built motorcycle engine. I mean, the company makes ultralight engines.
That's what it was originally designed for, right? And then they used the cylinder head and the cylinder and put a transmission on it and made a motorcycle engine.
No, I didn't know that part.
Yeah. So, but again, that's what it was designed for. Now, you take the same KTM, like my son's, and build it and try and run it, you're going to get 1 season out of it, which we proved to my son. When wintertime came, I said, Alex, we really need to put a rod in this and a new piston in this. We didn't run that much. Just because we built it, we got that 10% extra out of it. That 10% is 10% completely over the curve. That's not what it was designed for. He's like, no. Second race out, we can cut it in 2. So I basically had a head.
Yeah, so long boring story. I think it's just a budgeting issue. Where do you want your money?
Right.
I drive a used van.
So how many people remember, and I've said this before, again, I'm going to use my tool. How many people remember the Fram commercial, right? You can pay me now or you can pay me later. Either way, you're going to pay me. That if you keep that sentence in mind, you'll spend maybe the same amount, usually much less, but maybe the same amount, but you'll be able to run twice as many races, have twice as much fun.
That's what I think
twice as little problems, right?
Yeah, I don't want problems.
Right.
That to me is not fun.
We go to the track to have fun.
Yes.
Right.
And the only thing I want to work on at the track is settings. I don't want to fix oil leaks. I don't want to worry about that's a funny engine sound. And to me, I pay a pro, and I don't do any of that.
if I work on a customer car, usually road race stuff, work on a customer car, when they bring it to me, I guarantee them when they get it back that they can go click, click, broom, right? Turn the master switch on, turn the ignition switch on, and push the start button. Click, click, broom, and drive it all weekend. If they have to work on it, bring it back, I'll fix it for free. I'll do the next one for free, right? You don't go to the racetrack to work on them. You go to the racetrack to ride them.
Well,
you go to the
I
racetrack
don't.
to drive them.
Some people seem to enjoy that. I just don't.
But some people do it, and we've covered this before. They do
Our
it
buddy Robert Lewis.
because they don't know any better.
Well, Robert Lewis, I think he does it because he can't stop.
Right. Right. Why not just skip a week?
The stack of chips, right? Just allocating your budget. So.
Right. You want to run up front? You're going to run up front, right? You don't want to run up front? Then go play and try and skimp and move, and all you're going to do is have frustration and complain, and this is stupid. And if you just look around, right? Lesson, super lesson, the lesson, just look around.
If you've made it this far in the video, you obviously knew what you're getting into. There's a certain type of viewer that watches these that definitely enjoys us talking forever.
The banter.
Yeah, and most of you have not made it this far, and that's fine. So if you made it this far, do the channel a favor, do all the YouTube stuff, click like, click subscribe to the channel. 80% of you people that watch these videos do not log into YouTube, do not subscribe. For a little channel like this, we're trying to get flat track stuff out to people. So when you turn YouTube on, you'll get a notification. So you gotta subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell. That makes a big difference.
It's still free, right? You just
it's free.
You just gotta click like. Right?
Yeah, you just gotta click like.
Right.
It's not costing you anything. And for those of you that are really crazy, there's a link in the description to support the channel financially. Bringing these videos is actually not free. So yeah, thanks for watching.